Hey, y'all, welcome back to Let's Chat About, a show where pretty much anything goes. And today I am joined by Anita Kaiser. I am so excited to introduce you to Anita. She is a trauma informed coach who specializes in supporting empaths and highly sensitive entrepreneurs so that they feel safe inviting more success into their business and into their lives, right? Her work prioritizes emotional wellness, the release of old trauma patterns, and creating a sense of safety in the body through nervous system regulation. You can tell how and why we get along so well. Her clients experience improved energy and improved self-trust and calm confidence and all sorts of good things as they pursue their business goals, and they pursue them with more clarity and more confidence and more calm and ease. And so today we're talking about business ownership and who knows what else. So Anita, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Megan. I'm excited to have the opportunity to connect again.
Yes.
There's been so many times over the years where I look at you or, on Instagram, the books you recommend, and I'm like, yes.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been trying to post more books this year. So share with folks what I'm reading. So actually that's kind of a fun question. What are you reading right now?
Oh, right now I'm actually reading a book. I don't know what it's called. It's a nonfiction about the Great Lakes.
Oh.
And it's definitely written by an American because it talks all about the American cities. But I have been on my own journey for the past many years,
Mhm.
connecting with the water.
Mm.
And because I live on Lake Ontario, I go there, a couple times a week to
Mhm.
just be with the water. And when I saw this book somewhere along my travels, I was like, oh, I need to read that one.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm enjoying right now.
I love that. I love that. Well, I know that we were talking about business ownership, but of course, you've brought something else to my attention. Talk to me about water and how you're working with it and all that. Just do your thing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting aspect, right? None of it was conscious the way it came in. And, I live on Lake Ontario. I live relatively close to Niagara Falls. And so, there's been all sorts of, like, hindsight's always 2020, right? When you look back, I can see, oh, that was a doorway where water was talking to me, and, these different avenues. And in 2019, I went to Ecuador with my mother, which was, quite an experience.
Yeah.
But we went to the Andes and we went to this eco village, which was at the top of the Andes. So, like, you'd look out and you'd see the clouds in the sky, you know, a, like really high up in the mountains. And so, this space we were in, we were water keepers
Mm.
for the water going down the mountain. So, we would, strain multiple strains on the dishwater before it went down the pipes, and just
Yeah.
things like this. And at the time I didn't know that this was going to be part of, the journey, the connection to water. But looking back now, I feel like that was really pertinent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that, I can just keep going here because there's more to the story. So I'll try and keep it short. But that winter, when I came back in 2019, moving into 2020, right? I started to notice, like, all the streams every time they were just calling me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to Niagara Falls and I realized, oh, it's the water calling me.
Oh,
So,
cool. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that's amazing. Well, okay, so I have an interesting question. Just it occurred to me. You mentioned how, the streams and the water was calling to you over and over again. And when you're working with folks who are, they've experienced trauma in the past, like our bodies and our minds can signal incorrect signals to us, or, you know, our bodies and our minds kind of exaggerate a response to something. And how would you help somebody kind of recognize those signs and symbols that are coming in from the universe, like the water was coming in for you, especially if they've got that background in trauma and they don't have a whole lot of self-trust?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing that I do in my work
Mhm,
is create that safety within,
mhm,
right? Because until we have that ability to trust ourselves,
mhm,
right? So, um, that is the number one thing. And I wish there were like a simple, I can give you this tool and then you can do that. But it's just not the way it works, right?
mhm,
We have to go through somehow the messiness. And in the work I do with trauma,
mhm,
most of the time, we don't actually go back and look at the actual traumas. Like occasionally they peek out in a scenario,
mhm,
but it's very important to expand the nervous system,
mhm,
contract,
mhm.
expand, contract, right? And just a little bit rather than, woo, here it is, all of it. Now you're off the deep end,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
that just doesn't work for the system, right? That might be okay for a moment, but then there'll be big contraction afterwards. So, it is really just this container of safety that allows it to expand, and then discernment
Mhm. Yeah.
versus judgment, right?
Ooh,
Discernment versus judgment
yeah,
and the boundaries.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I'm just calling this episode as it is, and we're talking about creating self-trust. I
mm,
love that Spirit is just kind of guiding us on this. Can you just dive in a little bit more for us to kind of explain the difference between discernment and judgment? Because I think that's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? And so, judgment, I mean, it's very, very rigid.
Mhm,
There is only one way, and it is um, all over in the world, right? We are taught there is one way to be, there is one way to be feminine, one way to be an entrepreneur, one way to be a man, one way to be a teacher, one way to be everything.
yeah.
And in discernment, we get this opportunity to decide, how does that feel for me?
Mhm,
And then I'm going to decide whether I want to operate with that or
mhm,
not,
mhm,
right? So judgment is that outside, I need to differentiate, I need to not get swallowed into that soup.
mhm,
And I don't know that I'm doing this justice, but um, discernment really is that running things through our own personal filter.
mhm.
Does this work for me?
Yeah.
Is this okay for me?
Mhm,
And, obviously, provided no one's getting hurt, provided it's like it doesn't have to be for the greater good, but,
yeah.
no damage to the greater good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, I think that's a really great way to put it, is judgment is kind of that outside filter, right? Because we're raised in a society that is all about, kind of conforming and fitting in. And it makes sense because that's how our nervous systems are built, right? Safety in numbers. Safety was within the tribe, especially as we became like hunter gatherers. Like we learned that we went along to go along and then we wouldn't be left somewhere without resources and our people around us. And so it makes sense how society developed over, eons and such. And I think right now we've really entered a phase where the encouragement and support for discerning things and having that inner filter is really starting to trend upward, which I'm so pleased to hear about, because like you were saying, there is no one right way to be feminine or a business owner or even a human being. Like, you are unique and beautiful in this glorious creation, and there's nobody exactly like you. So
Yeah.
it's like, let's dig into that, like let's embrace that.
Yeah, and I think, what you said about, the hunter-gatherers, right?
Mhm.
Or, just the way we've developed it. Competition has been the big thing, right? Everything is competing. And, I've also, on a personal level, been doing a lot of like nature studies myself and connecting with the plants and the animals and the trees. And I think that's also part of the disconnect, right? This competition, everything has to be competition. And when in fact, the entire planet, all of us
Yeah.
work better in collaboration,
Mhm.
cooperation. And so, that feels like a really important piece when I look at it as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a word that acknowledges the fact that there is a certain amount of like competition for resources. Like, trees won't grow too close to one another. Um, or when we're, putting an offer out into the world, there are other people that are doing something similar. And so other people are looking at this, but doesn't have like the toxic weight that competition does. Like, competition feels so cutthroat and so like toxically masculine. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a word for that, but I think certainly with the trees,
Mhm.
some of them will self-sacrifice,
Yeah.
right? That will happen if there's too much
Mhm.
pull on resources.
Yeah.
But we also see with the trees where they feed stumps, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
feed not only, new babies, mamas, grandmas, right? There is the feeding even when the tree has been cut down, as long as the roots are still there.
Yeah.
And, in terms of competition for business, I always like to think of it as you and I, even if we are working on a similar niche,
Mhm.
you have the clients that are here, your soul aligned clients.
Mhm.
And you're you and I'm me. And my soul aligned clients are going to see my soul aligned light calling them in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and we're the type of business owners, I feel like I can confidently say this about you as well, that it's like if somebody came to me and there's definitely more of a fit for you, I'm going to send them your way. And I know that you
Yeah.
would do the opposite as well, or the
Yeah.
converse. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. My Clifton Strengths Finder top strength is input. So I'm all about like, what information can I bring in? How can we rethink this word? So my husband and I will sit around on a Sunday morning eating brunch, and we'll discuss the meaning of a word and like how it's been toxified and how we can find an alternative to it. So competition is one of those words for me, because I think it could be used, but it's been used so poorly. And like you're saying,
Mm.
like there's this beautiful balance. And I'm also firmly in the school of thought that says there's enough resources for all of us, and there's enough
Yeah.
clients for all of us,
Yeah.
all that. So I love hearing your thoughts on that too. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm so like geeked out at the fact that you and your hubby sit and talk about words like that. Like that is such a precious thing, because often in partnership,
Mhm.
we're not always on the same page around those sorts of things, or, spirituality, or, personal development growth and that kind of thing. And so I really love that. It's
You.
and I think, I mean, words are so important,
They are.
right?
They are. They are. And what's interesting is, and I'm sure you've seen this in your work, being so trauma informed as you are, that there's certain words that it's like I believe that words are neutral, but they can cause reactions in us, or we have an emotional tie to them. For instance, I'm seeing he's not in a manager's role, but he is managing people, and he hates the word manager and management. And it sounds like paperwork, and it aligns with all his bad ideas of or his ideas of what a bad manager is. And so we switch it to leadership. So he is leading his team, he is leading people, he is leading, mentees and that sort of thing. And it's just always so fascinating to me that it doesn't take a lot for us to be aware of how words impact other people. And we can change it, and it's not difficult. And
it's so interesting, even that little distinction, management, leadership, and leader. Like for me, I definitely feel, I don't know that words are neutral for me, because each word carries a certain amount of energy that I feel. And like leadership just feels like so buoyant and light and fluffy for me. Not fluffy, that's the wrong word, but just this levity.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you see like the definition of word, right? But then like same way, like I prefer leadership over management. But then if somebody said, "Oh, you're managing a team," I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, no big deal." I don't have an emotional reaction to it, but you might, or obviously he does. So it's fascinating to me that we all have such different experiences, and I think that just kind of ties into the point we were talking about earlier, how we're going to attract unique people to us, either in business, in life, that are drawn to us and our energy and how we hear our words and how we share our words and our message.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I just want to, I'm sure you're familiar with it, right? But I don't know if all the listeners will be. Somebody recently posted on Facebook, a friend of mine, actually, she's not homeschooling, but she did the rice experiment. She's in the process of doing that rice experiment with her kids. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
The Masuro Emoto, where you cook some rice, two things of rice, like a cup of rice in each, and you put them in a mason jar with a lid. And so it's the exact same rice. And one you say loving, kind, wonderful things to, and the other one you say hateful, mean things to. And, even after 4 days, the hateful one, and, this family also talked about, they were having a real struggle saying hateful things to this rice.
Yeah.
But even after 4 days, that rice is going moldy. And the love rice is just looking beautiful and fresh, right?
Yeah. I've definitely seen that with like apples or other fruits. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How cool. I love that. Yeah. Our words have power. So, and even the words that we tell ourselves, right? And how we talk to ourselves. I love that. Oh my gosh. You got me thinking in all different directions, and I just love it. I am going to pop your link up here, your website, but tell us where else we can find you. I know you've got a YouTube channel too. So
I do have a YouTube channel, and I've been sharing actually a whole bunch of shorts on there, just fun little snippets. But on my YouTube channel, I actually don't have that many subscribers yet, so I don't think it's under my name yet. I think you need 100, and I don't have 100 yet.
Yeah.
So, but anybody who wants to join me, I'm thrilled with that. Come
this
on,
is how you get more.
I love it. And on that, I definitely have a bunch of tap-alongs to help support, inner critic kind of stuff, fear, like overwhelm, various different things. But I am most active on Instagram under Anita Kaiser Wellness. There I post daily, and I'm constantly sharing what's coming up in client sessions, what's coming up in my life, what's coming up in the astrology as I understand it. So
Nice. Excellent. Well, I love a good astrology reading too, as you know. Well, thank you again for being here on the show and for sharing your wisdom with us. And I'll have all those links in the caption so people can come follow you. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.